this will likely be incident to a lawsuit and pause until that lawsuit is settled.
We began by talking about the veto of that THC ban. The governor did sign a bill that would significantly expand the state's medical marijuana program. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so that actually opens up the program quite a bit. So right now there's only available 3 licenses for companies to manufacture and produce these THC and hemp products. But this opens it up for 15 licenses, so 12 more licenses. The issue with only having 3 in a state this big, not all of those are fully operational yet. So if you add in more, the hope is, maybe 8 of those 15 can become operational within the next year or 2 and allow for more products to be out and also allow for maybe the cost to come down a little bit as things get more competitive. A lot of complaints about the C-Cut program is the cost of it in comparison to obviously going to the store and just buying your own gummies or whatnot. And so it'll be interesting to see exactly how this all pans out, but there was also some provisions added in there that allow for veterans and people who have chronic illnesses or pain to be added into the program. So it opens it up to possibly more people that can use it, and also opens it up so that there will be more products available for people who go through this program.
Blaise Gainey is the Capitol reporter for the Texas Newsroom. Blaise, thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And just ahead, humanoid robots may soon be deployed at a Houston AI server-making plant. So yeah, robots making AI. What could go wrong? We discuss with the Houston Chronicle's Dwight Silverman as Houston Matters continues.
Houston Public Media provides a free, essential, and trusted public service to everyone in Southeast Texas. The generosity of our Affinity Council Committee enables us to bring inspiration, insight, and connection through public media. Anchorage Foundation of Texas, Jan and William Cato, Amy Gambino, Gwen and Dan Kellogg, Charlotte Kroll Foundation, and Chris Torberson. Thank you.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from attorney mediator Ron Bankston, providing in-person, video conferencing, and hybrid mediation and arbitration services. More information is available at ronbankston.com.
We get support from members like you and from electricityplans.com, helping Houstonians find electricity plans based on home energy usage with tools to compare rates. Enrollment details more, electricityplans.com.
This is Houston Matters. I'm Craig Cohen. Reuters reported Friday that American artificial intelligence chip maker NVIDIA and Taiwan's Foxconn are in talks to, in the coming months, place humanoid robots in a new Foxconn factory here in Houston that would produce NVIDIA's AI servers. That would represent a first for both companies. It also means robots essentially making AI. You can complete your own dystopian sci-fi screenplay from there. Here to talk about that and other developments in consumer technology is Houston Chronicle columnist Dwight Silverman. Hi, Dwight.
Good morning, Craig.
This sounds like a potentially big and disruptive step forward in manufacturing, is it?
Possibly. It's at this point, this kind of thing is very theoretical. I read another story this morning that robots are beginning to disrupt the shipping industry, and particularly the unloading of cargo out of trucks, which is kind of something good because humans get injured a lot doing that.
Yeah.
But I don't, when they talk about humanoid robots, when you're assembling servers, there's a whole bunch of different things that would be involved in that. Are they talking about working on circuit boards? Are they talking about putting things into racks? I mean, if it's putting things into racks, that's basically just very repetitive and very simple. But the other thing is are these kinds of humanoid robots ready for this? Tesla is working on this same type of thing. NVIDIA, of course, is the company that kind of has brought us the AI revolution. So it kind of, if you're going to have a natural progression, that's kind of the way to go with it, I think.
Do you see potential implications here, not just for manufacturing, but also for consumers?
I think, I hate to say say this, but in theory, if you have more automation, it keeps prices down. Initially there's the R&D cost and there's the installation costs, and in theory you can kind of make things more efficient.
On the other hand, I imagine we end up paying for it in other ways, not just in terms of jobs, but in terms of things like all the energy it takes to run those servers that then get placed everywhere in Texas. Those electric bills go up as a result.
Yes. Well, and those servers are coming regardless of whether robots build it or not.
At the Worldwide Developers Conference earlier this month, Apple announced changes to its operating systems. What's changing?
Oh, man. So what's really interesting about this is, Apple kind of ate much crow in last year's WWDC announcements regarding its Apple Intelligence didn't ship, particularly its improvements to Siri, which is what I think everybody wanted. And this year, Siri got kind of a passing mention, but the big deal was that your iPhone is going to look a lot different. So is your iPad, so is your Mac. Almost everything that is Apple is going to get a different look. A modernized look called Liquid Glass that is very, lots of transparencies and objects that kind of wiggle and move around. I've been testing the Mac version of it, and it's pretty cool. And it'll be interesting to see whether it's simply a shiny object to distract from Apple's issues, or whether it actually helps. So far, I like it. I'm not brave enough yet to put the developer beta on my phone or my iPad. But one of the most interesting things is that the iPad is going to look a lot like the Mac, with separate floating windows. Everything will be full screen. This is after years of people requesting it. And there's a name change. So right now we're using iOS 18, macOS 15. Everything is going to be labeled with the year of the update. So this is going to be iOS 26, macOS 26, tvOS 26, and so forth.
Okay, now that comes on the heels of last month's announcement from Google about how it's expanding its AI offerings. What should we know about that?
Well, Google is constantly pushing AI into everything. It's kind of a flex, I think, given what has happened with Apple, and a lot of the things that Apple wanted to do, Google is now doing. For example, there's more and more integration of Google's AI into its various services, which is what Apple wanted to do with Siri. But at the same time, I still have this question of how much do people actually want that? A lot of the Google and Samsung approaches to AI is, hey, here's AI. And Apple is more kind of like it sticks it in there and it just does it, and it doesn't announce itself. It'll be interesting to see which one of the two end up being more useful.
We were talking earlier about the U.S. military strike on Iran. It's probably worth reminding our listeners that the access we have here to information is vastly different from what Iranians experience. The regime there has been limiting Iranians' internet connectivity. Also, Israel says Iran has been hijacking some Israelis' home security cameras to spy within Israel. To bring this back home, what are things any of us with smart home devices like internet-enabled home security cameras, what can we do to keep someone from gaining access to them?
Smart home devices have long been a way that hackers do some of their evil. There are, particularly for those that are older, smart home devices are older, plugs and hubs and so forth. You end up maybe having the original password still on it, or there's a flaw that hasn't been patched if the firmware isn't updated, and essentially people hack into it and then use it for nefarious ends, most often for doing what's called a denial of service attack, where they just flood a targeted server with so much junk. In this case, and this has been a problem for a long time, the Iranians apparently have been able to get into the home security cameras and business security cameras from companies that have not secured them, people that have not secured them very well. So you can essentially see what's happening in the home. For most individuals, it's just kind of most apt to be embarrassing or even boring to look at that. But if you're looking at a business, if you have a building that, say, has an older security camera and the government offices in there, you can learn a lot. So the main thing people need to do
about a free app called Orb, O-R-B, and how you use it at home to monitor the quality of your internet connection. How does it work?
This is a very cool app. It was created by the same people who originally built speedtest.net. Speedtest is kind of the way to test the speed of your internet. It's very commonly used. It's now owned by Ziff Davis. And these founders created something called Orb that takes that idea and checks more than just speed. It checks the reliability of your connection. It checks how fast it responds to things, and it does a couple of speed tests, 2 different kinds. What really intrigued me about this is I had been using AT&T Fiber over the past year, and I thought every now and then, am I getting dropouts? That could be what I'm connecting to. That could be my Wi-Fi as opposed to the connection. And so I was really interested to see this. And when you turn it on, you can put it on every device that you own practically and run a network of orbs. And it shows you how reliable it is. I let it run for a couple hours. I saw no dropouts, so I felt good about that. But you can also see how each individual thing is doing. How's your phone doing? How's your laptop? There's a way even to do it on a TV. And I think that, and it's free. This is a very cool tool. They want to monetize it by selling it to businesses to check the various devices on the corporate network.
Dwight Silverman writes a column on consumer technology for the Houston Chronicle. He joins us each month to discuss tech trends. Dwight, as always, thank you.
Thank you, Craig.
Still to come, the Rockets are acquiring 15-time All-Star Kevin Durant. He may be a good fit, but does the move reflect or buck a recent trend of championship teams greater than the sum of their parts? We discuss as Houston Matters continues.
Exit right.
It can be hard to stay informed about what's happening in our city, our state, and across the country. That's why Houston Public Media makes it easier.
Everything you hear on News 88.7 is powered by you, not advertisers. 80% of our funding comes from our Houston community.
That's what makes public media different. It's community funded. Always here for you.
Join that community now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 888-909-0887.
Support comes from Children's Museum of Houston, presenting Faithful Friends, an exhibit fostering connection, curiosity, understanding, and friendship. Families explore other cultures through the eyes of Houston kids. More at cmhouston.org.
Now we get some more from Pearland, Texas community with a variety of living options, from new construction, mature neighborhoods, and urban living, designed for any lifestyle. Or at pearlandedc.com/inspiration. Pearland Inspiration lives here.
While Oklahoma City won the NBA championship last night, the Houston Rockets may have stolen the Thunder's thunder. Working down earlier in the day that the Rockets are trading for a 15-time NBA All-Star and
Then exit right.
Kevin Durant. The trade will reportedly be officially completed when the new cap year starts July 6th. And we'll see the Rockets sending Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, and a half dozen draft picks, 1 first and 5 seconds, to the Phoenix Suns in return for Durant. KD may well provide the Rockets with scoring punch they've been missing as they seek to go deeper in the postseason after this year's first-round exit. While on the surface it may seem the Rockets have picked up a franchise superstar, he may also complement an already strong roster filled with young talent and may help reflect a recent trend in pro sports, winning teams that have success by being more than the sum of their parts. Let's discuss it now with Chris Gardner, the host and owner of Houston Roundball Review, and Jesus Ortiz,
Stay
from
left.
Houston Chronicle,
Then
Astros
exit
writer,
left.
founder and editor of Our Esquina. Chris, Jesus, good morning.
Good morning, Greg. Good morning. How are you?
All right, Chris, let me
Exit
start
left.
with you. First of all, what is your reaction to this reported trade of Kevin Durant joining the Rockets?
Great trade for the Rockets to acquire a Hall of Famer for only one part of their young core.
Durant's obviously a big name. He's 8th all-time in NBA scoring. He's won 2 MVP awards, 2 championships. As I said, he's been named in 15 All-Star games. He is maybe the best player the Rockets could possibly acquire and would seem to provide what the team needs most, range shooting. What is more important for the Rockets, that he provide star power or that he complements a roster already in place?
I think the latter, that he complements the roster that's already in place. Star power part is,
Initial Game 7, the Pacers got there without a great deal of star power. Are we seeing a change in the NBA from teams built for so long on 2 or 3 superstars and then a lesser supporting cast to more balanced rosters with players who do a variety of things well?
I think so. I think it is a balance. You know, the era of the super team is ending, basically being acquired by free agent signings. You look at the Pacers, the Thunder, and the Rockets, a lot of the other teams now, they built their core via the draft and then added to it with a trade or a free agent signing.
Jesus Ortiz, let's apply this to baseball. Are there examples in recent years of major league teams that have gone deep in the playoffs, even won championships by being greater than the sum of their parts?
You know, that's a great question. I think most of the champions are greater than the sum of their parts. You know, you look at the Dodgers last year and the injuries that they had late, but they can still outlast, you know, the Yankees. But keep in mind, they had Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman. So you need the superstars. You look at the Astros in 2022, the Astros in 2017, they had superstars, but then they needed, in 2017, they needed the real legit superstar, and they got Justin Verlander. In baseball, pitching is king, and you need that number one ace to truly have success.
Jesus, the Astros do still have some perennial all-stars on their roster this year, but they aren't stacked quite like they were in 2017. Are they better off long-term developing and restocking a roster that's made up more of very good players who are some of the next big franchise superstar?
I mean, that's how the Astros have done it. You know, smart trade, Jordan Alvarez, picking high. Well, this latest era, it hasn't been a high draft pick. But you have Hunter Brown, you have Framber Valdez, and a bunch of guys who just want to keep up, right? And I really do believe that right now with the American League, as weak as it is, as long as the Astros don't play the Detroit Tigers in a 5-game series or a wild card, I fully expect them to make a legit run to the World Series because they have the sum of the parts. And they've done this without a superstar. The best player on this team right now is Jordan Alvarez. He has not given the team a Jordan Alvarez season. But yet, you look at Jeremy Pena playing like an all-star. You look at Isaac Paredes playing like an all-star.
farther along in the playoffs.
So they're at least closer now than they were before to the sort of roster that could go deep in the NBA playoffs.
Yes, and they're not done thinking probably adding another shooter, something that they really still need.
Is it about adding another shooter, another piece, or is it about having more versatility? They had a lot of great players last year, but they were all pretty good on defense and hardly anybody could shoot.
And they need a shooter. One of those guys could be on the team already, and Reed Shepherd, rookie from last year who did not play a lot because he lacked confidence in his own game. If he becomes that guy that any organization believes he can solve the shooting problem.
Chris Gardner is the host and owner of the Houston Roundball Review. Jesus Ortiz is a former Houston Chronicle Astros beat writer and the founder and editor of Our Esquina. Chris, Jesus, thank you both for talking with us.
Thank you. Have a great day.
And that will do it for today's show. The Houston Matters team includes Michael Haggerty, Joshua Zinn, Brenda Valdivia, Mincho Jacob, and Laura Walker. Jared Carroll is our technical director. On tomorrow's show, we focus on Houston's East Side, how it's changing, who's shaping it, and why Houston may continue to exhibit an East-West divide. Brenda Valdivia chats with the Kinder Institute's Daniel Potter, and I'll talk with Patricia Cabrera, the director of the Houston East End Communities Collaborative. Also, Laura Walker talks with Natalie Mott, the founder of Lullabies and Chaos. It's a grassroots organization turning baby showers into lifelines for expectant mothers and fathers who are facing tough times. I'm Craig Cohen. Join us tomorrow for those and other Houston Matters.